Yep. Actually, just kind of. Okay, so welcome everyone. So my name is Pedro Moraes. I'm a product manager with Bloomsbury Digital Resources, and what that means is that together with my colleagues, we look after our various digital resources, both developing new ones and then looking after the existing ones that have been launched, to which we're still adding more content, updates, etc. So starting with the one you have on your screen there, Bloomsbury Food Library. I started with this one because a couple of years ago, Bloomsbury launched a new digital publishing platform, what we call the Bloomsbury Publishing Platform, or SSP for short. And that's where we've been launching all of our new digital resources. So we have now maybe about 10 or so, maybe more, actually more digital resources on that platform. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the functionality of this new platform, and then show you just a couple of our products on that platform. And this is because a lot of them share the same functionality. So this is a platform that was developed so we could put out new products quickly and easily. So Bloomsbury Food Library is one such example. So we've taken a lot of the books on our own list. So we publish a lot in the humanities, social sciences, visual arts, culture studies, etc. And so we've taken a lot of our books on food studies, combined them with encyclopedias, major reference works, some of them licensed from other publishers, and brought them together on this platform to have a dedicated resource about food, food and food culture and food studies. So typically you'd have your home page, and there'd be an area with a banner and a catchy image highlighting some interesting content, usually featured content. So we tend to put some content in front of the paywall available for free, so we can give users a taste of it and tweet about it, promote it, etc. And then usually on the homepage you'll find some links to dive into the content, start exploring it, because the content has been organized and classified by a number of categories, such as topic, theme, place, period, etc. And then for some products, you'll also find links to things like a timeline and the world map, which I'll cover in a minute. So if you go to the top navigation here and you start browsing, for example, you can go to a page that gives you all the books that we have on this particular digital resource. You'll see a list of, at the moment we've got 90 ebooks. That's not all the content we have, but these are usually the monographs, so sort of usually standalone volumes, standalone books on something. So agri, food and rural development, cookbooks, alcohol, grocery shopping, etc. So it's quite a wide range. Oh, here we go, an interesting one, concerning food. So this is an example of a book that we published in print in 2017, and then added to Bloomsbury Food Library. And this is your typical book landing page or table of contents page. And if you scroll down, you've got a summary of the book, a little abstract, and then the table of contents with links to the chapters. So there's a bit of front matter, but then this is your list of chapters. So for example, we could go into this chapter. It's an interesting question. The Ian McKecker just a fish stew. And there you go. So this is a typical book chapter page. You've got your chapter content here, so the text. There's a table of contents for the chapter here at the top, if the chapter has been broken down into sections. Not all of them, but some will. So you can click on that and just jump down. If you can see it on your screens there, you see as I'm hovering here, there's a line that is drawn along the text here to a number on the right, 54, that's the page numbering. So if you hover over the text, see that the page breaks are there. So if you've got a reference, a citation or something to a particular page number, you can use these to look for it. So that's your book chapter, and then all of them have DOIs that have been registered. So if you use DOIs, if the library or your lecturer, university lecturer has a reading list, they can link using the DOI directly to this page. So this is all and the functionality of virtual resources these days. Search within this book feature, and then another standard feature of the SSP is on the left-hand side here, you've got this subjects sidebar. So all the content, all the chapters should be indexed by subject expert indexers. So they've been classified with a number of subject terms by category, such as place, Brazil, there we go, and then topic, such as food production, globalization, localization, identity, recipes, etc. So all of this has been applied to the content. The categories, topic, place, etc. will vary from product to product. So for things like screen studies, we have some film-related categories. For food, we've just gone with topic and place. And then all of these are links. So if you click on one, it triggers a search. And then you search the whole platform for other content that has been categorized with that particular category. So for example, then I can click and I'm going to go into another chapter on the same topic. And the idea is that you help users discover connections between the content. So here we go, this is a different chapter of a different book, and it's also got some indexing categories, and it's actually even got one about discipline, knowledge of food. And then still on the left, you'll find related content suggestions. So the platform generates these based on things like the indexing, things like metadata, etc. So again, there's more suggestions, creating more connections between different pieces of content. And then you'll also have your recently viewed list if you want to go back to something you were looking at before. You can see some books, some chapters have got images, and where we've got the rights for them, we display them here. You can search by author. So for example, this chapter was written by this author, Rachel E. Black. You can click on their name, and in many cases you might see short biography if one is available, and then you can click on that, and that triggers a search, and then you're looking at other content, other chapters, etc. by the same author. So on that note, I'm just going to trigger a specific quick search. This is your basic search. And you may have noticed that there's lots of different ways you can filter your search results to narrow it down to specific topics of interest. So I'm just searching for the word food, and then I could start applying search filters. So one of the more interesting ones is the content type filter. So our digital resources will typically combine different content types, monographs, biographies. In the future, they're going to have video as well, lesson plans, encyclopedia articles, screenplays, etc., museum objects. So you can apply these filters if you're just interested in, for example, lesson plans. And now I've got 8 results, 8 lesson plans that have matched my search, but then I'm specifically interested in the sociology of food, and that takes me to 1 result, which is our lesson plan, which is sort of an article type a document that was commissioned specifically on a specific topic. So we have started developing for many of our resources things like lesson plans and bibliography guides and things like that to help users use the content really, and help lecturers use the content in the classroom, and just make everything more interesting and more valuable. On the taxonomy, so if you click on this Explore by Navigation menu, this is how you can browse the content by using the taxonomy. So those subject terms that I mentioned, so if I click on place, for example, I'll see a list of terms or countries or regions that have been applied to the content. So only things that have been used will appear here. So for example, Puerto Rico, you can click on that, and you'll see that we've got at least a couple of chapters that have been indexed with that. There might be more content about that, so you could just perform a search for Puerto Rico and you might get more results, but this is what's been done by the subject indexer. So other ways to explore the content is this feature called the world map. So you'll see this on a number of our resources on this platform. And as the name suggests, it is an interactive map of the world, which gives you an idea of how much content we have that has been classified with these various regions and places. So it is driven by that place taxonomy dimension. So for example, if I click on South America, I've zoomed in on this region, and then you can see according to the key here, so we've got more content about Brazil than we do about Paraguay. Sorry if anyone's from Paraguay. But then we've got some content on Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, etc. So again, I can click on that again, and then it's going to trigger a search. And now it's given me all the chapters or articles, etc., that have been indexed, have been classified with the place name Argentina. So the world map is just another way to get into the content, to let users jump right into the content and explore the content. So I could have done this in a number of ways. I could have searched for Argentina, I could have used the explore menu, or I could have just gone to the world map and done it that way. And so one of the benefits of doing it this way is that you can see the balance of content on a particular region. And so, unsurprisingly, because we're an English language publisher, we'll have a lot of content about North America and about Europe. But that won't always necessarily be the case. And so with architecture, you see that we have a very global publishing program. And for example, we actually have content about Antarctica in Food Library. There's a chapter about that. Okay, so that's just sort of an overview. Oh, hang on, I forgot timeline as well. So another way to browse the content, going through the browse content menu, is the timeline. So this is another feature that you'll see on our resources, and it's a visual timeline with facts and links to the content. So this one you can see goes all the way to prehistory, from prehistory to the present day. So I can click on here to navigate it. So, for example, if I'm interested in a particular period, 1870, The timeline has two levels. At the top, you usually have a selection of images and some information about a particular event. So in 1873, global food trade expands, etc. And then there will usually be a link to read more, which will link to some piece of content, a chapter or an article, etc., with more information about what's described here. So that's the top half of the timeline. The bottom half is this. It's these pinpoints, and the colors indicate the specific topic. So yellow pins in this case are about food culture facts, and then green it's about food production and food politics. So if I click on green, it expands to give me some facts about food production in that particular period. And again, there will usually be a link to go into a chapter and read more. The difference between the pinpoints here and the images at the top half is just for these, we won't have images. So that sometimes we will have images about an interesting fact, sometimes we won't, but you can still see here the timeline. You can click on this on the date bubble, and then it just expands everything, and you can see at a glance all the interesting timeline facts that we have for that particular period that you've chosen, with the links to read more. So the timeline is both an interactive visual tool to explore a particular topic, in this case, food history. But again, it's also a way into the content. It's also a way to navigate to the content, to discover it, and it's something that we will again and again try to reinforce with this platform, is to create those connections between content items. So that's the timeline, that's the world map, and then usually here in the browse menu you'll find more information about the content that's available on this particular resource. So in addition to ebooks, as I said, we've got encyclopedia content, major reference work, etc. And depending on the editorial decisions that we've made, the content will be organized in different ways. So if we have a significant encyclopedia, for example, we will, or a significant book series, we may separate that out into its own browse page to let users look at that and what. So for example, popular music, we've got some key sections of content. We've got the Encyclopedia of Popular Music of the World, which is a very large major reference work. I think we've got a dozen volumes or so now, 11, here we go. So there's 11 volumes of this encyclopedia that is still being published, still being updated, I believe. So we've added some recently. The latest volume was this one about genres Europe. But then we also have on this platform a very popular, a very well-known series of books called 33 1/3, which are sort of more tradey type of books. They're kind of very accessible. They're very short books. If you've ever seen one, they're very short, small books, usually about a band or an album. They're very popular, but also very, very useful even for research. So we put this series of books on this platform, and then you can go into them just like you would. And we separated those out in the browse from our other more scholarly, more academic books that we also have on Bloomsbury Public Music. So we've got here about 55 scholarly books for a number of different topics. So you'll see content organized in different ways depending on the digital resource. So it has been adapted to what we think are the needs of the users. So here's another interesting example, which is applied visual arts, which has a lot of books from our applied visual arts list. And here, the books are not organized into ebooks or encyclopedias or whatever. So you've got them all here on this page, but the way the tools that we've developed for users to browse the content are more based around the disciplines that they cover. So these applied visual art books, they are, as the name suggests, they're fairly practical, hands-on type of content, and we've organized them into different disciplines. So if you're interested in fashion and textiles, you can browse a list of further topics and titles. So here's a book, Designing with Smart Textiles. And pretty much almost all of the books that you'll see on our digital resources are available as full text HTML, so it's just like a web page. The applied visual arts books are the exception because they have very specific layouts. We make these available within a PDF viewer, which should display now. So here we go. In this case, for these books on this particular source, there's an embedded PDF viewer. But still, having said that, even though it's PDFs, all the books are searchable. So all the text is available and it can be searched. It's responsive. It will display on mobiles, etc. So the behavior of the platform in the end is the same. It's a responsive platform. It works across multiple devices and screen sizes, etc. And everything is searchable, full text searchable. So that's applied visual arts, and these are just some examples of some of our resources. There's more. So there's architecture library, there's design library, there's screen studies, which is the one of the products I look after, and it's going to be our home for moving image studies, so anything to do with film studies, film history, media, TV, video games, etc. on here. At the moment, the launch collection focuses on screenplays, so on film studies, or film criticism and screenplays. So it's a collection of scholarly books from our own list, and then a number of film screenplays, film scripts published by one of our partners, one of our content partners, Favor and Favor. So these are presented in the industry standard studio format. Scroll down, you'll see they're presented as actual screenplays with all the stage directions and character names, etc. So that's one of the unique features of screen studies, is that it has this content type screenplays. It also has books, also has a timeline, as you've seen, as I've shown you on Food Library. Okay, I think at this stage, I mean, there's more to talk about the SSP products, but we wouldn't have enough time to cover all of them. We've got education and childhood studies as well, and we've got more in the pipeline that we're developing. But in terms of functionality, a lot of it will be similar, will be shared. We have taxonomy, subject terms, browse options, timelines, world map, etc. And then some sites will have some unique features such as screenplays, or in the case of education childhood studies, there's these graphs. There's some country overview graphs from the World Bank database, for example. So there's a couple of unique features, but a lot of the core features are the same. So I'll move on to another product. Just waiting for this one to load. Here we go. For example, on education childhood studies, you have these country overview pages, and each of them will have usually a number of graphs with statistical information provided by the World Bank. Right, so another product that I know very well, because I look after it as well, is Job Online. And this is quite a complex product. It's one of our oldest digital resources. It is now 6 years old. It was launched 6 years ago, and this month, May of 2013. And it has grown quite considerably the last few years. So Job Online was developed as a digital home for our drama list. So Bloomsbury has two main theatre drama imprints, Methuen and Drama, and then the Arden Shakespeare imprint, which is considered to be the reference when it comes to scholarly editions of Shakespeare and Shakespeare plays. And so Drama Online was developed as the digital home for that. And it was developed in partnership with another publisher, Faber and Faber, who also published quite actively and extensively in play text and books about drama. So we developed that in partnership with this other publisher. And initially, it just had a list of play texts by Bloomsbury and Faber, but it has since grown quite a lot. So to show you a typical play, for example, here's Hamlet, which is published by Bloomsbury. It's part of the, as I was saying, the Arden Shakespeare. And if you go into the play, there is this dedicated play reader view. So the play is presented as you'd see it on a print page with character names, with stage directions, etc. One of the unique features about this and the high value features is that it also includes all the rich text notes and commentary that the editors of the Arden Shakespeare have provided. So if you can see it on your screens, there's these speech bubbles here, or sometimes are highlighted, and you can click on that and you'll see there's a bit of commentary by the editor or some text notes, which is the valuable scholarly content about these editions, because Shakespeare plays, anyone can find them for free online. They're out of copyright. You can just Google it and find the play. But the value is in all of this commentary, as well as additional materials that are only included in these scholarly editions. So that's your typical view of a play. And then we have obviously a lot of other plays, but a lot of contemporary plays, more recent plays, and we continue to add more content. A couple of unique features of Job Online is this Play Tools tab here, which essentially has two dedicated tools for exploring the plays and researching. One of them is the character grid, and you can see at a glance which characters appear in which act scenes and how big of a part they play in that scene. So here Polonius is particularly present in Act 2, Scene 2, but not so much in Act 1, Scene 2. Then the other tool is the words and speeches graph. So it gives you a visual indicator of how many words are spoken in that particular act or scene, that particular part of the play. So you can see, for example, that Act 3 is quite long compared to Act 2, which only has 4,300 words. The two features interact. So if I click on the character of Ghost, it changes the features down here, and I can compare it to, say, Horatio. And then suddenly I'm comparing two characters and see how many words they speak in the play, which could give you an idea of their relative importance in the play. So we had feedback from users who use these features to, for example, research minority voices, marginalized voices in classic plays, to see how important they were and which plays paid more attention to certain characters, minority characters, etc. So these are all features developed exclusively for plays to help you research the plays and explore them in more detail. In addition to play text, we also have video. We've got quite a lot of video content now. I think, I don't know, many 100 hours of video we have at the moment. And we've got this video player, which is, again, mobile friendly, so you can watch this on your phone if you want. And it also has, for all video content, a transcript of everything that is spoken in the video. And it's all interactive. So if I click on that, jump to another point in the play, you'll see that this highlighting here, anyway, the words will, the highlighting will move along as the video plays, and then you can click on any word to jump to that point in the video, so you can search it. So then it tells me, okay, there's lots of hits, this part, this section of the play, and then you can see the terms highlighted. So you can use this for textual analysis, for example. You could compare the Arden Shakespeare edition to this particular production of the play. You could compare different productions by different theatre companies to see if they've changed anything in the text, if they've deviated from the accepted text, etc. There's all sorts of ways you can use this, and we've got we've got quite a lot of video content. Most of it is video productions of Shakespeare, because we partnered with companies like Shakespeare's Globe and the Royal Shakespeare Company and Stage on Screen, etc., who produce a lot of video film versions of Shakespeare. But there's some contemporary video plays on there as well. There's some Henrik Ibsen, and there's some BBC, more modern stuff by the BBC. And finally, in addition to video plays, there's also there's also audio plays. So we've got we've got exactly 400 audio plays, all provided by this partner of ours, LA Theatre Works, who specialize in audio plays. So they are fairly well known for that. Some of the audio plays we have on here feature famous actors like Brad Pitt, Alfred Molina, etc., when they were still doing audio plays. And then you've got this audio player, so you can listen to the audio play on Drama Online. Then finally, to move on to another product. So on Drama Online, in addition to plays, we also have some monographs and scholarly books. These are organized into two categories: context and criticism and theatre craft. Context and criticism, as the name suggests, is critical textbooks, critical monographs, contextual analyses of plays and playwrights, etc. And theatre craft, they tend to have a more practical focus. So it's things about applied theatre, how to project your voice, how to light up a scene, etc. So they tend to be more practical. Some books touch upon both, really, but the logic behind it is that theatre craft is more practical stuff, and context and criticism is critical monographs, theatre history, drama history, titles, etc. Right, there's more to be said about Drama Online. So the last couple of things I'll say about Drama Online which are relevant here is, one of them is that unfortunately there are territorial restrictions, particularly for the content that we get from Faber and Faber for the plays. Not all of it will have world rights, which is unfortunate, but that's just the situation. some plays and specifically some playwrights, we don't have rights outside the UK or even outside the UK and the Commonwealth. So you may not see in the US or Puerto Rico or in Brazil, etc. You may not see certain plays available. All of this information is available on a title list on the site, and we also have marked records specifically per territory, so that any content that isn't available there is excluded. And if you're in a country where certain content is restricted, you won't even see it on the site. So if you search for something, or if you go to one of these A to Z pages, any content that isn't restricted is hidden. So users should not be able to land on it unless somebody else in a different country has given them the URL, the direct URL. They should not have a way to get to the content by searching or browsing for it. So we don't want users to land on that content if it's not available in their territory. So that's one thing unfortunate that we have to have on Drum Online, is these territorial restrictions. The decision was that we'd still rather have all the plays by Samuel Beckett or Harold Pinter because they're important playwrights, even if it's only available in some territories, than not having them at all. And then the last thing is that Drum Online is a modular product, so it has quite a lot of different collections, standalone collections that can be purchased separately. I'm not going to cover them all. If you want to read about them, go to the home page and scroll down this middle column of collections, and you'll see them listed there. So we've got more collections of play text like Aurora Metro, Lincoln Books, Playwrights Cannot Press. We've got quite a number of video collections, and you can see that on here. So it's quite a big platform. It's quite a big site, Drum Online, and we need a lot more time to cover it. But hopefully that's covered the main features. Right. So if we move on to maybe Bloomsbury collections. The Bloomsbury collections was also developed a few years ago. It's also one of our oldest digital resources, and it is it's our ebook library. So it's the home for our academic and scholarly monographs on all the various subject lists that we publish. So this covers pretty much everything, and you see here at the topic the various humanities, social sciences, visual arts areas that we cover. It won't have things like play text, for example. That's only on Drum Online. Same thing with screenplays. That's always screenplays. So this is just our monographs. You should also find encyclopedias and reference works and dictionaries. Again, those will usually be available. If they're available online, they'll be on other resources like Food Library or Design Library. So this is about the monographs, and it's a product that is constantly being updated. I think there's new releases pretty much every year. So if I, for example, every year, no, every month, I mean, actually to be browsed by collections, you'll see that we've got a number of subject collections, for example, linguistics. You've got a list of, and you'll see that we have many years of collections. So I was looking for, let's say, classical studies and archaeology 2019. And you see the list of titles that we've published in that collection. So these annual collections, they are available to purchase individually. And then I'm sure there's all sorts of bundles and deals, but Matt is the best person to ask for information on that. But the idea is that there's a new module every year that we publish on that particular collection, so you can keep buying more content to stay up to date and have the latest titles that we publish in that particular subject. And then the actual platform, the behavior is very similar to your ebook platform. So you've got your book landing page with metadata, DOIs, etc., subject classification, related content here on the right, and then your table of contents with the links to the chapters. And most of these will be available as full text HTML. Some content, I think, is available as PDF. I don't know what percentage of titles are available as PDF and what are full text HTML. I don't know off the top of my head, but in some cases, you will see just a link to download the PDF. But especially recent content, it will all be available as full text HTML that you can read on the screen and search, etc. You could change the size of text, for example, if you want to make it bigger. It's much bigger. And then you've got your usual citation tools, sharing tools. You click on that. A citation, if you want different citation format. And you'll see on the SSB, you'll see many of these features as well. Food library, design library, etc. Then you've got your table of contents here on the left. You can jump around the part of the book. There you go. The other thing I'll say about collections as well, but Matt, do step in if this doesn't apply, but we also have a title by title licensing model where customers can, instead of buying a whole collection, they can choose from a list of titles that they want to have access to. But as I said, the best person to give you more details about that, if you don't have that already, is Matt. So I might say something wrong, but just to let you know that this the title by title model is only available on Bloomsbury Collection, so you don't have that on Design Library or Screen Studies, etc., because they're developed in a different way. There is some overlap, so some of the content that you find in our other dedicated resources, like Design Library, etc., you might find it here as well. But here you've got everything, whereas on the other products, they're designed as a dedicated resource on a particular area, a particular topic, with a dedicated taxonomy, a specialized taxonomy, and other tools to discover the content. So that's Bloomsbury Collections. Another big digital resource that we've had for a few years now is Bloomsbury Fashion Central, which was originally called Berg Fashion Library. It was the digital home of the Berg list of fashion titles, and a few years ago it was relaunched as Bloomsbury Fashion Central when it brought together Berg Fashion Library together with Fairchild Books Library and Fashion Photography Archive. Now, last year we added another collection within Fashion Central, which is the Bloomsbury Fashion Business Cases. So similar in a way to Drop Online, Fashion Central brings together four different collections or content modules, or databases as we call them here, actually. And you could search everything. And you've got your dedicated taxonomy here on the left, the number of facets such as design and making, dress, fashion business, organizations and design houses. You could filter your search results by that. And then you can see here on the left that we've got, again, a mix of content types. We've got encyclopedia entries, literary entries, designer biographies, business cases, book chapters, etc. And then you also have images here. So if I click on that, and you've got this page with information about this specific dress, and it tells you which collection it came from, so Victoria and Albert Museum, the maker, the date, materials, etc. So it's a very, very rich resource for fashion studies, both historical and practical as well. And then you could, as with other resources, you could browse by a number of facets such as period, you know, and you could go into this, and then you've got your book chapter, which again is full text HTML, so it's all searchable, and you can navigate easily to other chapters within the same book. You could cite it, etc. Take notes. You've also got your advanced search functionality if you want to start with a more complex search. Image designer. There you get your results. There you go. Got some more. Sandra Rhodes. So that's Fashion Central. There's more to be said about Fashion Central. I am not entirely familiar myself with all the features of Fashion Central. It is such a big product as well. One of my other colleagues looks after Fashion Central, but that's just a flavour, just a taste of what you'll find on here. And what you'll see is that a lot of the features that we developed for these, for our original digital resources that we launched a few years ago, such as timelines and browsing and other search features, we've taken those lessons and those features and we've integrated those into our new publishing platform. And we've had good feedback from users. We've had glowing reviews of our digital resources, and that's very gratifying, and it shows us that we're on the right track. But we're always, particularly with that Bloomsbury publishing platform, we're always looking at ways we can improve the platform and conducting user research, gathering user feedback to see what works, what doesn't work so well, what needs to be fixed, etc. And it's a platform that is constantly being developed. And then finally, Churchill Archive, which is it's a bit unique among our digital resources because it is a primary sources archive. Again, it's one of our original digital resources. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might even be the original digital resource, the first one we launched when we started dipping our toes in these waters. And it is an archive of documents and letters and primary sources from the Churchill archives. So, like London. Example, you should see the actual scan of so for example, this is Interestingly, it's an account from a company, they call a company, on repairs to a building at a specific address in London. There you go. I'm sure there's some historical significance here, but that's what it is. So it's a letter. It's a letter in this case from the archives that was digitized and it's made available here. It as a digital image that you can zoom in, manipulate, etc. And you, as a primary source, this is it. This is the way, so as close as you can get to the actual document without having to make the trip to some archive in London or somewhere that is probably very hard to access, or that you may require special authorization to access. It's available here in digital format, and it is enriched with metadata, cataloging information. In some cases, there could be a transcript. Not all of them, unfortunately, but usually a transcript and more information about files. And it also includes a couple of other resources, teaching resources, for example, like the in-depth guides or classroom resources. So these are usually could be essays or lesson plans, things that have been commissioned by our editors and developed specifically to help use the archive and learn more about these particular topics. And I mentioned we will look at food library. We've now started developing similar resources for our most recent products, such as, for example, food library, where you've got through the browser, you can get to this page on research and learning tools. And we started adding a number of lesson plans on different topics and also bibliographic guides. And the plan is that this will keep on growing as we add more content. We'll keep on growing these resources. So some of our digital resources are closed. I think maybe just Churchill Archive, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty much, I think, complete. I don't think there's any content updates in the future. But all of our other digital resources, drama, fashion, food library, design library, etc., they are constantly growing, and we have regular releases. The frequency will depend on the product. Sometimes it's annual, sometimes it's every other month, etc. But the idea is that these resources will keep on growing. And if you need more information about how often something like screen studies is updated or something like food library is updated, I'm sure Matt or somebody else in Bloomsbury can provide that information. But it will vary from product to product. So, on that note, I think we've got 3 minutes left. Maybe I'll just hand over to you if you've got any specific questions that you still like me to cover in this session.
¿Alguien tiene preguntas? Any questions? Okay, I'm guessing no questions.
Well, if you think of anything, you can always email Matt and he'll send those over to me.
Oh, perfect.
But yeah. Anyway, so that's it. If you still ever need me to do one in Portuguese, by all means, we can set it up if that's necessary. If not, I hope this one has been useful to you. And yeah, I've got anything else to add, so have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro.
No problem. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ciao.
Espérate. Gracias.
You're welcome. Take care.